I'm still not entirely convinced it's going to come out now. We're talking about these new estimated prices, but would you buy one at that price?
Yeah, I think that's the key question, isn't it? They can't just price it what it needs to be priced to sell it. It needs to be kind of sellable. Like people need to want to buy the thing.
The really tragic thing about this is that this isn't too far removed from what happened with the original Steam machines. Hello, this is Dave from PC Gamer.
And I'm Jacob.
We're here because, obviously something pretty major happened last week with Valve. Time to start talking about the really disappointing news.
But something didn't happen, I guess, which is they haven't announced pricing or a firm release date for the Steam machine and the Steam frame, and to some extent the Steam controller as well. I can read out their message. I'm sure people who are interested in this stuff have read this because it went up on Steam. When we announced these products in November, we planned on being able to share specific pricing and launch dates by now, so that would have been good. But the memory and storage shortages you've likely heard about across the industry have rapidly increased since then. The limited availability and growing prices of these critical components mean we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing, especially around the Steam machine and Steam frame. Our goal of shipping all three products in the first half of the year has not changed, but we have work to do to land on concrete pricing and launch dates that we can confidently announce, being mindful of how quickly the circumstances around both of these things can change. We will keep you updated as much as we can as we finalize those plans as soon as possible.
The key thing around the launch that you were out in Bellevue in November, that was the key thing, is how much is it going to cost?
Yeah, and it's the question that everyone asks about the Steam machine, way more than I've barely seen anyone talk about with the Steam frame. We'll get to that, but this mostly Steam machine, this is the one big question that everyone seemed to want to know, because it really lives or dies by the price. I think it was something we've said before as well. The price has to be good for a tiny little PC running SteamOS to be a viable purchase.
And I guess that's the thing. We should just quickly talk about what it is. The Steam machine is a little gaming PC, somewhere between an AMD RX 7400, RX 7600 kind of graphics card, an RDNA 3 card, a Zen 4 CPU in there, 16 gigabyte of RAM, and two potential configurations, 512 gigabyte or 2 terabyte SSDs.
And the key thing there is this is last gen tech as well. So that kind of does factor into the pricing thing. This isn't cutting edge, but it's also not really that old. You're not going to notice that it's last gen necessarily, but since we kind of made some estimates that we'll get to of pricing back, I think it was late November, Valve did say that it intends to price the Steam machine like a PC, not a console, which I think we both agreed was quite loose terminology.
I mean, essentially what they're talking about is we're not going to suck up the pricing on we're going to price it normally. We're not going to subsidize it. We're not going to try and make money out of the Steam store by having more people buying a Steam machine, because that's just not going to work.
This is slightly more accurate. They said that they were aiming for price parity with a similarly performing PC. And so I think that's where a lot of our estimations kind of came from, is using that sort of, how much would you have to pay to get something like this? That has changed a lot since last November to now. But quickly on the context of why this has happened, why they're in this situation, as they alluded to in that statement, is the memory crisis. AI demand, thanks AI, is causing prices to spiral. I've noted down here, I literally just looked on Amazon just now, Crucial Pro 32 gigabyte DDR5 CL36, which is good but not amazing latency, was $80 last year, is now $325. Which is so depressing.
Yeah, that tells the story straight away. And if you're talking about that in terms of trying to manufacture the stuff, your manufacturing costs going up by that sort of level is going to have a massive impact on how your releases go.
This is one analyst firm recently noted that memory costs surged up to 90% so far this year. That's 2026. We're only at the start of February.
Yeah.
So,
they've had 5 weeks to do that.
Yeah, and that's the actual prices that essentially people are paying to get the memory chips. That's not sort of adding on every single bit of packaging, everything else that you need to get SODIMMs, which is the laptop form factor memory that the Steam machine's using, or LPDDR5, which is the memory on the Steam frame.
But we're also not expecting that to change as well. This is we're locked into the RAM issue the memory issue for a good while. We're expecting that to go through 27 as well.
Yeah, 2027 at the earliest is when some, SK Hynix, Samsung, Micron, I think Micron sort of expecting some stuff in 2027.
In terms of expanding their production.
Yeah, getting new facilities online, but also that can only, AI demand is growing. So you might only be meeting the demand as it stands. You might not necessarily be increasing the demand so much that consumers and stuff like this are getting getting the benefit. And the other thing is SSDs have gone up. Valve note that in their statement. It's not just memory. They're talking about storage too. And I think the price of like a 2 terabyte drive can be upwards of $200 now. They were way cheaper than that towards the end of last year, Black Friday, and before that last year.
Yeah,
definitely way cheaper.
It just all comes into a really sad state of affairs for Valve, because personally, we probably weren't super excited of all the 3 products that they announced: the Steam Frame, the Steam Machine, the Steam Controller. The Steam Machine probably wasn't top of our list, but it was the thing that grabbed most people's attention. And the fact that we're not even close to a stage where they can announce a price for it, let alone a release date, is pretty tragic.
Yeah, to do all that work, get the plans finalized, stuff like that, and then to kind of be hit by something really late stage as well, based on what they kind of indicated when we were out there, at the headquarters, like when they were kind of aiming like early 2026. Now it's sort of first half, which still kind of could be early 2026. So I can see there's a little bit of leeway there. But do we want to talk about our incredibly optimistic previous guesses for this? We have another video where we made guesses last November.
Let's start with your one.
Ours
were pretty similar, actually.
Yeah, I initially thought I would top and tail it. I thought because they were doing 2 options, 512 gigabyte and 2 terabyte, I thought they'd go, because of the Steam Deck, the pricing of everything, it's last gen tech. I thought 529 for the 512 gigabyte one, and then they'd kind of go 649 for the 2 terabyte one.
Yeah, I went the same. But I was a little bit lower. I was like 499 because that's a nice price. Yeah. Like you could, if you can get under $500 on that, it'd be a really nice thing to do. 649 for the 2 terabyte.
Yeah, and it would be a great way into PC gaming at 499, right? Or even 529.
Yeah. But it's good. Those are now gone. That's
seem
all over.
Unbelievably optimistic in hindsight. But what we didn't know at the time, so one of the things I based my price on was you get an RTX 5060 PC, which is a more modern GPU than what you're getting in the Steam Machine, with DDR5 for around $750, $800. Those PCs now are at least $900. And even that is a rarity. I actually had a look a couple of days ago across Newegg, and I sorted it by price for all gaming PCs. And I was in, something 8 or 9 pages in before I even got to anything with relatively modern specs. And what I mean by relatively modern is maybe 2 generations old GPU and CPU, still using DDR4, not DDR5 memory. So even 900 is a really good deal right now for a PC. And I've only found one that was like that, which I actually don't know if it's still live right this moment.
So where are you landing now?
What I put down was 512 gigabyte. I put 899 because of the price of another PC that's sort of similar, and based on what they said before, they want to kind of have that price parity with a PC. I think you could go a bit lower than that if I'm being optimistic, but I did feel like after really thinking about it for a long time, 899 might be optimistic. And then for the 2 terabyte, I just said kill it, because the price of the drives is in excess of $200 sometimes. I know Valve can get a bit of a benefit by being a fairly big company, but they're not that big. And compared to the companies like Dell or HP and who are making laptops, they are nothing compared to them for manufacturing hardware and putting this stuff together, right? So I don't think they're going to get a massive benefit by being Valve for that. They can be smart about it. I think with the memory, they could go single stick, which makes it less appealing, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it's a lot cheaper to get single stick SODIMM than it is to get a dual channel, 2 SODIMMs and sticking them in there. So maybe there's a way of saving some costs there. What's your estimation?
Mine was just all born of despair. So I just ended up with it's going to be $999 for the 512 gigabyte version, and they'll subsidize that with a $1,500 2 terabyte one. But that was also caveated by I'm still not entirely convinced it's going to come out now. We're talking about these new estimated prices, but would you buy one at that price?
Yeah, I think that's the key question, isn't it? They can't just price it what it needs to be priced to sell it. It needs to be kind of sellable. People need to want to buy the thing.
They'll have had all of their initial manufacturing kind of either laid out or in process. So right now there are going to be Steam machines that have been built at the original manufacturing costs, and that will be their sort of launch suite of them. But what do you sell those at the original price and then just assume that there's going to be a massive delay until the next lot come out, and then you go, well, we've launched it, we only had limited stock and there it is. Or do you massively spike the price and run the risk of just not selling many.
I think like the issue for Valve, and it is tragic because to have this thing that people are excited about, like people are super excited about these launches. We saw loads of interest in it. It, you know, obviously it's great. It's interesting. It's new. It's not necessarily a good time to buy a whole PC 2026 just as a year. As so far things might change, but things might also get worse. And I think that's what Valve's kind of hedging their bets here, which is they want concrete. They want to be able to set a price and stick to a price. The problem is they don't know what a price is going to be by the time this comes out. If it comes out July, like the latest point really in their timeline, is that going to be the price for memory might be even more, it might be even worse than it is now.
And they still may not be able to be confident about a concrete price.
I think as well, the other thing we haven't really touched on here is the caught in the crossfire, the Steam frame. The thing that we're probably most interested from those launches anyway, it comes with 16 gigabytes of LP DDR5. So soldered on memory, 256 gigabyte or 1 terabyte, so slightly smaller options for the SSD, but it does have double, you know, this is a standalone VR headset, comes with double the VRAM than the Quest 3. You know, and we've already seen like consoles and stuff spiking their prices because of this. So that also doesn't spell, you know,
it doesn't sound good,
positivity ahead for that.
No, it's soldered in as well, so they're going to be even more limited on where they can get the LPDDR5 from.
Do you still think they'll be launched together? And do you think that we'll see them as late as possible? You know, when's the best time to have launched the Steam Machine?
2025?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I set you up there with
Thanks.
When was the best time?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's just like the longer they waited, the worse it was going to get. And like at this point, like are they going to get anywhere by launching the Steam Machine? Like I could see a world where the Steam Machine doesn't get launched. The Steam Frame and Steam Controller still come out. Like Steam Controller can come out now. Like, no memory in that thing apart from these little bits.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. Like we want to be positive about something. The thing that we genuinely agree that we'd probably buy ourselves straight away if it came out was a Steam controller, and in theory that should maybe come out separately and just be a thing that's happening.
That would be a nice thing, and like that would be like, you know, hey, these things aren't happening for a while, but here's the Steam controller.
I know they probably want it to be, well, if that came out with the Steam Machine, it makes perfect sense, right? It has antenna dedicated for it. Everything in their ecosystem, and I think we spoke about this before, they're creating an ecosystem and all of it works together really well. The micro SDs, you can move your library across, the controller works on across everything. You can use the Steam frame, play with the controller, you know. It all worked really nicely together. And so splitting them up, I can see as kind of not something they're going to want to do. Yeah,
absolutely. They will want to resist that as long as possible. But like, at what point do you just call time on it? Because if prices keep going up, like you can't sell a $1,500 Steam machine that's 500 gig of memory of SSD space in there.
Like you say, if you have a $999 512 thing, it's not going to seem good by today's pricing, right? But is there a world in which gaming PC pricing goes so wild in the next few months that actually does seem like a good price? Well, the thing is, are people going to buy it then, or are they just going to wait?
I think one of the things that like inspired my sort of pricing thinking was the Xbox ROG Ally Xbox X Ally X, because that came out at $999, like a ridiculous price, absolutely ridiculous. It's not exactly cutting edge hardware in there now. Like it's a couple of generations old with a Strix Point chip in there, and yet that's $1,000 device, got sold out real quick. So I can kind of like, and that's because of the form factor, and I can see where that's the Steam Machine's kind of thing. I mean,
you kind of want Valve not to do that, but then it feels like they're being forced into doing something a lot more drastic. And whatever pricing we were hopeful of, even if we were being optimistic at the time, which, you know, we want it to be good, we want it to be a success, we want to like play on a Steam machine in a living room. So you want it to be cheap, right? We want PC gamers to be able to have a cheap option.
The thing we were excited about with the Steam Machine, that this was going to be a great entry point into PC gaming for people, like a real simple device, not beholden to Windows, with a clean UI, get you into your games really quickly, really easily. That's gone.
It just feels like the wind's sort of out the sails, and it is tough to feel quite.
I can't feel positive. I can't feel positive about the Steam Machine, knowing that it's going to come out with either a ludicrous price or not at all. And that it feels like it's a binary option right now.
Or Valve does the most heroic thing ever. They cash in one of Gabe's yachts and they launch it for free. No, we probably won't see that, but hopefully we will see a Steam controller as a little.
I mean, that'd be a nice filler. But I mean, the really tragic thing about this is that this isn't too far removed from what happened with the original Steam machines. Big launch, early doors. This is coming. Get everybody excited about it. Huge amount of hype about this, like 2014, 2015. Huge amount of hype about the Steam machines. And like, this is going to be a big thing, massive thing for PC gaming. Got a lot of different manufacturers on board as well. Got seeded out machines to people. And then it just kind of fizzled out. It's like it never really happened.
But that relied a lot on third parties. If that was the case here, it would 100% be fizzling out because nobody's going to jump on a whole new platform and take the risk on something when the price is going to be wild. At least now Valve has that backing themselves. Like they can, if they want to go for it, they ultimately decide the price.
Sure.
And they decide whether it's going to make them lots of money, make them no money, or make them a small amount of money, So I guess that's the only thing that gives me a glimmer of hope is at least Valve is controlling what's happening with this launch and the Steam controller. I do want to use it. It's not affected. It should be fun. So let's be hopeful for the Steam controller. And generally, I think be hopeful that PC gaming does get out of this hole that it's in right now because it's grim.
That feels like a nice point to end on.
Yeah.
Jacob's feeling really positive. I'm full of doom.
Yeah, perfect. As usual.
I mean, that's pretty standard, yeah.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Cool. Take care.